This is Global Currency Insight, and today's update is one that has the entire currency community on edge. For years, countless people have been waiting for news that could change everything. And right now, there are new claims making the rounds about potential Tier 4B notifications and reported activity involving Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong. The buzz is intense, the speculation is everywhere, and whether you've been following this story for months or even decades, the latest reports are sparking a lot of conversation. If you're watching this, chances are you've either been holding on to these currencies or at least tracking developments closely. And today we're going to carefully walk through what's being said, what Tier 4B actually means, and what steps people typically expect in a process like this. Stay with me because we'll cover every angle and break down exactly what's behind all the noise you've been hearing. The term Tier 4B has become almost legendary within currency circles, but for anyone new to this subject, it's worth taking the time to explain clearly. Over the years, the idea of a tiered rollout has been discussed by many, with Tier 1 often described as involving governments or sovereign entities. Tier 2 is generally thought to include the large banks and big financial institutions. Tier 3 has been said to cover major groups or organizations holding substantial amounts of currency. Then there's Tier 4, which is often divided into two groups, 4A and 4B. The first part, 4A, is usually thought to cover big groups of holders or larger currency organizations. Tier 4B, however, is the category that everyday individual holders are said to fall into, which is why so much attention always lands here. If there's talk about Tier 4B notifications, it matters because that's the level where many ordinary people believe they could be included. What's fueling the latest wave of speculation are claims from different corners of the community about emails, phone calls, and even supposed exchange appointments being scheduled. Some individuals say that certain dealers have been contacted directly by banks, while others report activity at exchange centers. A few even suggest they have seen movement in their accounts or received instructions about setting appointments. All of this naturally spreads fast online and gets picked up across forums and discussions. But here's the key point to remember. None of these claims have been independently verified, and there has been no formal confirmation from central banks, governments, or large financial news outlets. As always with this subject, separating what's rumor from what's documented fact is extremely important, because stories like this tend to surface repeatedly over the years without turning into official reality. If notifications were to be sent, the way many imagine the process is fairly structured. People often expect an email, text, or even a phone call coming from a verified and clearly identifiable source, such as a bank or authorized exchange location. That communication would explain next steps, such as scheduling a time and place for an exchange, presenting documents like identification and proof of purchase, and confirming the amount of currency being brought in. The appointment itself would likely take place at a designated center or branch. There, the holder would present their currency along with all paperwork, and the exchange would happen at whatever rates had been officially set. Payment would then be issued in the form of a bank deposit or transfer. This is the general outline that has been described many times before. But it's important to stress that no major institutions have announced that this process is happening right now. Turning to the Iraqi dinar specifically, this currency has been one of the most widely discussed in the speculation world. Iraq has undergone years of reconstruction and economic efforts since the early 2000s, with oil production, rebuilding projects, and banking reforms often cited as part of the country's progress. The central bank has taken various steps to stabilize the dinar and strengthen its monetary system. But the official exchange rate remains much lower than the rates many holders hope for. While there are constant rumors that a dramatic change could come, No internationally recognized financial body has confirmed that a sudden adjustment is on the table. The fact remains that Iraq's economy is still facing challenges, and while growth and recovery continue, the notion of an overnight transformation in the dinar's value has not been officially supported by governments or major banking systems. Vietnam's currency, the Dong, has also been the subject of ongoing speculation. Unlike Iraq, Vietnam's story is centered more on its long-term economic growth. Over recent decades, the country has become a powerhouse in manufacturing, attracting foreign investment and expanding exports in ways that have caught global attention. Its banking system has been undergoing modernization, and international trade partnerships have expanded significantly. These factors, many believe, could set the stage for currency adjustments. But just like with the dinar, no government body or major financial institution has announced plans for a sudden revaluation of the dong. The reality is that while the economy is strong and growing, the official exchange rate remains stable, and changes in currency value usually take place through gradual shifts, not sudden dramatic jumps. Amid these new claims, some people have even suggested that exchanges are already happening at rates much higher than the market value. There are also reports of non-disclosure agreements being signed and even claims of large sums already being deposited. While these stories attract a lot of attention, they're very difficult to prove. Without formal announcements from banks or coverage from major global financial media, it's not possible to verify such claims. For this reason, many observers urge caution when hearing about these types of reports. Over the years, similar stories have surfaced, often generating hope and excitement, only to fade away when no official confirmation followed. That cycle of rumor and disappointment is something long-time holders are very familiar with. For anyone holding onto these currencies, the safest path is usually to remain calm and organized. That means keeping your currency stored securely with proof of purchase and any related documentation available. If you ever do receive communication about an exchange, always check and double. Check the source before taking any action. A legitimate bank or institution will provide verifiable details and will not pressure you into rushing or making immediate commitments. If someone offers rates far above what's publicly available or asks for fees up front, that's a red flag that should not be ignored. The best approach is always careful verification through direct communication with established institutions, not relying on unverified stories circulating online. The question many ask is whether a major revaluation like the one often described is even realistic. Economists generally note that dramatic overnight changes in currency value are extremely rare. Most adjustments happen slowly and are tied to fundamental economic shifts, such as inflation control, trade balances, government stability, and interest rate policies. The foreign exchange market is closely watched worldwide. And if something as significant as a massive dinar or dong revaluation were imminent, it would likely appear in major financial outlets, with central banks and governments providing clear explanations. Without that, the more likely scenario is that currencies continue to move through gradual changes influenced by real economic factors rather than sudden sweeping transformations. One of the risks in this community is how easy it can be to let emotions take control. Many holders have been waiting for years with high expectations, and when a new rumor surfaces, it's natural to want to believe that this time it's real. That emotional attachment, however, can make people vulnerable to misinformation or even scams. The important thing is to approach every new claim with a balanced perspective. Ask yourself whether it's supported by evidence, whether it has been confirmed by reliable and official institutions, and whether it fits with what we know about how the global financial system works. Keeping emotions in check and focusing on verified facts is the best way to avoid disappointment or risky decisions. When researching claims, The most effective strategy is to look for independent confirmation across multiple credible sources. Government announcements, central bank releases, and major financial news platforms are the kinds of places where authentic information would appear. If a story only circulates within community forums, videos, or social media groups without being picked up anywhere else, that's usually a sign to be cautious. The same applies to banks. If someone claims that a particular branch is offering exchanges, you can always contact that bank directly to confirm. Without official documentation, there's no reason to take any unverified claim at face value. In the real world, currency's strength and value are shaped by a combination of factors that work together over long periods. Economic growth rates, inflation levels, political stability, and trade flows all influence whether a currency becomes stronger or weaker. Central bank policies on interest rates, monetary supply, and reserves also play major roles. Countries rich in natural resources may see additional effects on their currency values depending on global demand for those exports. None of these forces shift overnight, which is why sudden and massive revaluations are unusual and rarely happen without extreme circumstances, such as war or major political transitions. For those who look back at history, the most often cited cases of revaluation usually followed extraordinary events. After World War II, Germany rebuilt its currency system as part of its recovery. In the early 1990s, Kuwait revalued after the Gulf War when the country's entire system had been disrupted by conflict. China's currency, meanwhile, has been adjusted gradually over many years, reflecting steady growth rather than sudden leaps. These examples show that significant currency changes do happen, but usually in response to unique situations, not simply because of speculation. That historical context is important to keep in mind when considering today's claims. So where does all this leave those who continue to hold currencies like the dinar and dong? Right now, the most responsible stance is to recognize that while rumors are exciting, facts are what truly matter. No official body has announced an immediate revaluation, no major bank has confirmed special exchange programs, and no global financial outlets have reported a sudden shift. Until that changes, the latest reports should be viewed with careful skepticism. That doesn't mean ignoring developments, but it does mean verifying everything and not acting on hope alone. At the end of the day, this entire story is as much about patience as it is about speculation. People have been waiting, sometimes for decades, for the possibility of significant change, and that long wait naturally creates anticipation whenever new rumors surface. But the reality is that without confirmation, nothing has changed yet. The best way forward is to stay calm, keep your documentation ready, monitor credible financial news, and always prioritize facts over rumors. If real updates ever come, they will be clear, documented, and impossible to miss. Until then, stay informed, stay balanced, and don't let unverified claims drive your decisions.